Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Mirza, and my topic for this assignment is poverty. So, when we chose poverty as a group, we decided to divide focus areas amongst ourselves. And one being mine was the general definition of poverty and how people actually looked at it. So, to sum up all of my 5 articles in a video, I could say that definition is something very subjective. Different people have different definition on something, and in this case, different definition of poverty. If you were to ask 10 people about what is poverty and how you define the poor, there will be 10 different answers, right? So, for example, if you were to ask an actual poor person, what is poverty for them? Based on my research, then they in the papers it says that the poor would actually answer that poverty for them is not being able to have enough to eat, just that. And some others would look at poverty by the causes, like if you do not have enough land for agriculture, then that's poverty for you. And there are different views as well from the perspective of policymakers, and they look at poverty differently because there are indeed one policymakers, and for them the definition is too vast. It's too hard for them to choose. So for these policymakers, they decided to have their own view on what poverty is. So they actually created a poverty line. So for them, anyone who falls under that poverty line is considered to be in poverty and is actually poor. Um, and I think most interesting part of my research would be how some part of this definition, general definitions of poor and poverty, was actually created by the non-poor people for the poor people. And in my second paper, it was said that the definition of poor and poverty was created by us for them. It makes me wonder, like, do we really deserve to actually define what is poverty, what is poor, if we ourselves have actually never felt the situation? And some of my papers actually talked about how poverty in low-income countries are actually harder to settle compared to the higher and middle-income countries. And other than that, there were actually talks about how data is very different. It differs from one source to the other. One source could say poverty is falling, one source could say poverty is increasing. All in all, to conclude, is that when it comes to definition, it is very, very subjective. We actually, in order to combat poverty, we actually have to really sit down and define what poverty is, who is actually in poverty. It's crucial for these policymakers, it's crucial for us to identify the poor and those who are in poverty. And with regards to the low income countries' poverty, really, government and those of higher authorities should really look into this more carefully. More aggressive actions and steps are needed to combat poverty in this world. Alright.